Welcome to another Out of the Park 23 tutorial. Today's video, I'm going to give some tips for drafting. Went to 2023 just because in 2022, I'm certainly a bit biased by the prospects I know in how I pick, and I'm going to try to do this as objectively as possible. I know far fewer, if any, of the 2023 draft prospects, where some of the ones at the top of the board in 2022, I know them because the Orioles had the number one pick, so I'm paying attention. So I'm the Diamondbacks here. For those of you who watched my Diamondbacks video that came out the other day, I just went into the 2023 season and went up to the draft. So I'm going to do a few things here. I'm going to look at the top of the draft pool and tell you what I think about it. I'm going to go to my pick in the number 17, and maybe do a second round pick too. And then skip to like the mid rounds and then the late rounds to show you some different strategies I use. Just to start, the Rockies are projected to take this guy, Rafael Velasquez, first overall. I would not take this player first overall. Sure, I like that he's a leader, that he has high intelligence, good work ethic, and good intelligence. Players are more likely to develop with those. But I don't know that he has a positional home. 50 catcher ability, okay, maybe if the bat really develops, we can get away with that. He can't play the infield. The outfield he could play like in a pinch, but you don't want a 40 range out there every day and only a 55 arm. This is not a player I would take first overall. I don't think this is a player I would take at 17 if he's there. Just don't really like him all that much. There's too many flaws here for a number one pick. Aiden Miller, I mean, this player's fine, but again, I think this would have to be a really weak draft class for me to take him third overall. Thomas White is a really good-looking pitcher. I don't love taking high school pitchers, much in the same way that teams in the major leagues don't. They're just the most unpredictable to develop. They're the most injury-prone. But this is a good pitcher. Like, this is definitely a good pitching prospect. If I were down for taking high school pitchers with the third overall pick, I would do it. I think he's a reasonable guy to take. The guy that they're projecting me to take 18th overall is Riley Jackson. Same story as the last guy. No defensive home. Probably not good enough to be a catcher. I mean, this bat is just going to have to max out. Because, even if he reaches full potential, I'm not sure he's a DH for me. So I don't know that I'm taking this bat in the first round. So let's look at the draft pool. I'll show you some of the filters I use, how I look for players. So for here, I'm on pitchers. I'm on my draft pitchers filter, which has overall potential, work ethic, intelligence, their personality, then stuff, movement, and control potential. I want to know, are they ground ball or fly ball, velocity, stamina, and then their demand. I would generally be biased by stuff, to sort by stuff first. And I'd probably, this early in the draft, also just sort by starters, because I'm not drafting a reliever this early. So let's look at some of the pitchers at the top of the class. Jack Perkins looks like a pretty decent prospect if this control can develop, but he's already 23. He'll be 24 before next season. This is a guy who could probably pitch, I don't know, in at least Double-A right now. These three pitches are great. He could have some great pitches. If this control gets up to a 35, I think he could be, he's a 45 in Double-A already. I think he could be a decent bullpen arm. He does have the three pitches, so as long as the control isn't a huge problem, he might be able to be a major league starter. Again, the age is a little bit of concern. He's not going to develop a ton more since he's 23. So all the stuff potential guys, it's all almost all college players. I have it set for all of them. Movement potential. This guy, I don't mind at all. He's a ground ball pitcher, but this changeup might not develop. I know in previous versions, low current changeups didn't develop really well for prospects. I don't know if that's been looked at in Out of the Park 23 by anybody. But again, you can see Thomas White is really shining here. He's got a yellow tool and two greens. Potentially don't see many guys that have that. You have three yellows here on Christian Little, and he's going to be a starter. He's got the good work ethic. I don't mind this guy. The ceiling's not going to be as high on pitchers generally, I would say. I know it's a very blanket statement. So looking at hitters, and I go to my draft hitters thing, and I would probably sort by potential first. And it's some of these guys that we've looked at. Riley Jackson we looked at. Did we look at Blake Mitchell, I think? No, we didn't look at Blake Mitchell. See, this is a guy who I think you get a 45 range, 50 infield range, 55 arm. I think you could get away with him in the corner outfield or like second base, third base. Like not every day. I think he would kill your defense at some of those spots, but I think he could find a positional home or be a utility guy and also be a catcher. Like, and so that, you know, his bat is pretty similar to those guys who were catcher only or not even good catchers that I was like, no way would I take them. This guy has enough defensive flexibility that I would consider taking him at a certain point. Now, I don't like the low work ethic or the low intelligence. I do like the high work ethic. I think the best player in the draft by far, we're looking at the top players here, you can see by potential, is Michael Graziano. You can see he's the only guy here on the screen with a blue tool, and his other two are green. There's really not many people. You can see Ashton Larson down here has 3 green tools. But Michael Graziano, he could play left or right field really well for you. Maybe he could back up in center field at the 60 range, I guess. You don't want him playing every day out there. Let's see. He's not going to be able to play the infield, but this bat is really good. Potential monster home run hitter, good avoid Ks, good contact. You can see that he does have the low work ethic, but I think he's the best player in the draft. So maybe the low work ethic would give me pause like first overall, but if he was there at my 17th pick, I'd definitely take a guy like that. You can see contact, power, and Ks are the 3 things I look for in hitters. My How to Evaluate Hitters video has more on that. Same things across here, but then catcher ability, infield range, and outfield range. I think sometimes these are things that I want to know about. Like the only guy who's a 70 infield range in the draft is this guy. So he's the only real shortstop I see in the draft. He's got low work ethic, not a great bat, but he's a guy I'd take later in the draft. And outfield range, again, I'm looking for guys that are 70 or above so they could play center field for me. This isn't a major league hitter, but I'd take him later in the draft to play good defense in my minor league system. Where was that other guy who had the 3 green tools? Ashton Larson. 50 range. Yeah, he could play corner outfield. Can he play any infield positions? No. I mean, this is a guy I would be fine taking even though he has low intelligence. There's not a slam dunk first overall pick here. I'd probably go with Graziano, though, if I were picking first overall. Let's see who the computer takes. So Colorado is going to they take Thomas White. I think that's honestly, like, as much as I hate taking high school pitchers this early in the draft, I don't think that's a bad pick at all. Because there's no slam dunk hitter. All right, who's Cincinnati going to take? Luke Savage was not a guy we looked at. Well, he's going to need one of these 2 pitches to develop. You need a starter to have 3 pitches. He's going to need the curve or the changeup to develop. I mean, he looks fine, but not a guy I'd be excited about second overall. Luke Savage was projected to go 8th. Wow, I don't know. Detroit, who are they going to take? Deuce Robinson. Corner outfielder with low work ethic, low intelligence. His bat looks okay. Can't play the infield. Where was Deuce predicted to go? 4th. Okay. Yeah, there are a few guys that I like better than any of the guys that have gone so far. Let's do the top 5. Pitcher Justin Phoebe. He's 21. Good work ethic. He's got 3 pitches that are good enough to start, maybe a 4th coming. If this movement come along, like he can, yeah, he's a major league pitcher. It's not a terrible pick. Not a high ceiling pick. Pittsburgh is going to take another pitcher, James Hayes. Same deal. Like the 3rd pitch is a concern, not a high ceiling guy. And he's a high school arm, so maybe you can develop him into a better player. So let's go up to here. Is our guy, our guy Graziano is gone. Where'd he go? Oops, I'll draft a log. Oh, he went 15th overall to the Yankees. Darn. I think that high school bat is still out there, though, that I thought was decent. What was that guy's name again? Let's look at the draft pool. See more names here. We're on all batters. Ashton Larson, there he is. I don't love the low intelligence, but man, like he might be the best player out here. You got this guy. Well, no, he's the catcher guy. Is he the catcher guy who can play around? Yeah. He's got low intelligence, high work ethic. Here's the top guy who has high without a low. This guy's fine. He's only 17. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think Ashton Larson would be who I would take here. I don't think any of these pitchers are like blowing me away. No. So let's see who my scout says. I think I'd take Ashton Larson no matter what. So Riley Jackson, who my scout sees as the only guy with the 65 overall potential, but I just don't like that he has no positional home. You know, I think Larson's got a better what? I just like him better. Let's compare them real quick, just so I can show you head to head. All right, Ashton, where are you here? So here's Larson, right? And if you go to actions and you want to compare him, should bring up Riley Jackson. Yeah. So, I mean, Riley Jackson, they're both 18. Jackson has a little more development, but not really. The potential rating looks like it's a slam dunk by Jackson. We're going to dig into that more. You got higher contact potential, higher gap power potential for Larson. Home run power is the same. Eye potential is higher for Jackson. Avoid K is higher for Larson. And on top of that, Larson can actually play defense. Like 50 outfield. He's a corner outfielder. Riley Jackson's not going to play anywhere. Yeah, I would draft Ashton Larson in this spot hands down over Riley Jackson. Like, what's his bonus ask? $8 million. So he's once over slot, but whatever, man. Welcome aboard. Let's see who he wants me to take here. Connor Bennett. I don't hate this for a catcher. He's got the 60 ability. It's a bit better. The work ethic is bad, but the intelligence is good. He can't play anywhere else. I hate these one-dimensional catchers, man. I just don't like drafting them this early. This guy looks fine. He looks fine. I'm not worried that he's not a power hitter. He's going to be maybe a slap hitter, infield utility guy. Who's this guy? Oh, I like this guy way better, actually. Batoni. Possible power hitter. Doesn't have a great defensive home, but I think you could stick him in a corner outfield and be fine. If his bat really developed, I think, you know, maybe you can stick him at second or third base, and while his defense isn't going to be good, he would be a net positive on your team, I think. So I think Batoni's maybe my favorite guy here. I think this guy looks okay. Who's my scout recommend? Oh, right. I already asked that. Connor Bennett. Yeah, no, I don't like Connor Bennett. I would draft Batoni here. And again, I might dig around more if I wasn't doing a video. Like, it might take more time. Oh, look at his bonus, man. Way under slot, too. Yeah, get in here, man. Bring it in. So let's go to a few rounds in the future. Yes, I'm sure of this. Just go a few more rounds. So at a certain point, and you might want to do this at the beginning of the draft, especially if it's not a great draft class like here. So I have it on my draft hitters filter, but I want to look at all pitchers. So sometimes you can find guys who are good two-way players who are listed as a pitcher, but they're a really good hitter, and they might fly under the radar. Look at this pitcher. 45 contact, power, and a 50 avoid Ks. Looks like an okay enough pitching prospect. He is 23. That's kind of a bummer. But he could play corner outfield. Like, yeah, I think like he looks like he could be a league average bat, corner outfielder, and he might be able to pitch for you too. Maybe as a reliever or something. I think I'd be fine taking this guy at a certain point. Let's see who my scout would recommend. Scout recommends Christian Rodriguez, center fielder. But it's not a bad player. It's not a bad player for the round we're in. Don't like the work ethic. You know, this guy more likely than not is not going to be a big contributor on your major league team, but how many fifth rounders end up doing that in real life? But I would probably go with Navarra, honestly, the two-way guy. Yeah, I would draft him out of Central Michigan. So the next thing that I want to show you is kind of how I draft in the later rounds. I don't feel like skipping through all the way to get to the later rounds here. I don't think that serves much purpose. I'll click through a few rounds, but then I'll kind of show you how I look at the later rounds. Because in the later rounds, man, like, you're more than likely just getting somebody who's going to play in your minor leagues, right? You can take chances on, like, you know, you'll have a guy once every 5 or 10 years, late round pick who develops out of nowhere to become a really good player for you. But more times than not, that's not going to be the case. So I have my draft default. And the things I'm going to look at here are, you know, I might sort by potential and look at it. But a lot of times when you're in the later rounds, it's all going to be like 20 to 30 guys. So I'll look at work ethic and intelligence, right? This guy would be on my radar in, like, I don't know, the 18th round because he has good work ethic and intelligence. Now he's 22, so he's probably not going to develop, but maybe he could. So any guys who's high are going to catch my eye in the later rounds. Again, when you're dealing with guys who are just like 20 to 30 potential. I think the other thing that I would very much consider, and I should put this on my draft default here, very much consider looking at in the late rounds is infield range and outfield range, because you can maybe get guys who can help your pitchers develop better, because put up better numbers and get more confidence, etc., because they're playing in front of a good defense. So hopefully those tips are helpful. You know, again, there's not like one like definitely draft this player thing, but you know, I look for hitters with high ceiling in the early round is my bias for sure. Hitters with high ceiling who can play a position other than like first base. Not too big on first base in the first round. And then at some point look for the two-way players, and then late in the draft look at work ethic, intelligence, look at range. Those are my tips. Hope those help. Talk to you in the next video. Bye for now.